I assumed you want us on heads just in. The Blue Oval is usually a springtime destination, but this year it's the home for the only bronze-level continental track and field meet taking place in the U.S. The top sprinters are on hand, along with the American record holder in the pole vault and the reigning Olympic champion eyeing a world record in the shot put. Speed, power, and flight are all on display today as we welcome you to the Blue Oval Showcase presented by Mediacom. Beautiful August day here in Des Moines, Iowa, as we welcome you back to the Blue Oval. And it is the Drake Blue Oval Showcase that brings us to town, presented by Mediacom. In this very unusual year of 2020, it's great to get the athletes back on the track and in the field here in Iowa. Hi, everybody. I'm Paul Swangard, joined by a couple of Olympians today, Dan O'Brien, and soon to be joined by Carrie Tollison. But, Dan, this is, again, as I said, a very unusual year, a lot of social distancing even for the broadcasters, and it is all about giving these athletes an opportunity to compete and think about what the future holds, which will be now an Olympic year in a year's time instead of 2020.
Well, social distancing and wearing your mask, washing your hands, small price to pay to get an opportunity to compete at what may be one of the last track meets here, especially here in the United States, for these athletes as they get inside of 12 months leading up to those Tokyo Games.
And a great job by Blake Bolden and the team here at Drake to give these athletes a really important reason to be here, because it's also part of the Continental Tour, which is a global tour of events sanctioned by World Athletics, incentivizes some of the top athletes to be here because it is all about world rankings, and that can help them qualify for things like world championships and the Olympics.
Well, and you know, prize money's always a boon. You know, when you can see an opportunity to cross that finish line first, take home a check, so very, very important. But also building those points. Those athletes want to build those points, get those rankings, and see where they end up at the end of the season. It's
a decidedly sprint-focused event on the track. We've got 20 Olympians here competing throughout the day. Women's 100 meters includes the reigning Olympic champion in long jump, Tiana Bartoletta. But as we look at some of the events specifically, Dan, let's start with the women's 100 meters, and another former Olympic champion, Dawn Harper Nelson, coming back from retirement, says she wants to try to make the team in 2021.
Well, she won that gold clear back in 2008, and just when you think she's going to finish up, she always steps back into the sport. She had a baby about a year and a half ago. She said she's finally feeling race ready.
She will go up against, among others, Tiffany Porter. A very strong performance, was in that final in the Rio Olympic Games, finishing in 7th. As we look on now to the women's 200 meters, a lot of star power there, including a reigning U.S. champion of 400 meters, Shakima Wimbley.
Well, she's got back-to-back wins in that 400 meters and won her last 400-meter title right here on this track. She's very, very familiar with this facility, and she'll go up against probably the best overall sprinter in the world, Shanae Miller-Weibo. Right now, she's got the fastest 200-meter time in the world. She did run under 11 flat in the 100 meters earlier this year, and she'll be a favorite in the 400 next year at the Olympic Games.
Yeah, part of a rare group now with a lot of speed at both 100, 200, and 400 meters. Speaking of speed, 100 meters, and another real special story here. Jerian Lawson, who had a suspension overturned, which is a story that really deserves more attention. We'll get that to later in the broadcast, but he is running the 100, a legendary collegiate athlete.
Well, he was the last collegiate athlete to win the 100, 200, and the long jump in the same meet. Those were the three events that Jesse Owens won while he was in college, but a very special athlete. Nice to see him back out on the track.
And he'll go up against a strong member of Team USATF, Chris Belcher.
Well, Chris Belcher, the only sprinter from USA last year to qualify in both the 100 meters and the 200 at the World Championships, and he's holding down the hopes of North Carolina A&T. They continue to produce great sprinters.
Blue Oval has always presented a great fast track for the high hurdlers, and Devin Allen is here. He's won several U.S. championships, coming back from a little bit of a injury bug, but he looks to be running well today, and it'll be kind of a Pac-10 battle for him as he'll go up against, he went to Oregon, go up against a former USC Trojan and Alik Harris.
Well, both Devin Allen and Alik Harris are going to be battling a couple of young guys to make the Olympic team next year. Grant Holloway certainly, and Daniel Roberts. We'll see which one of these guys can come out on top today.
Well, and you talk about young guys, young sprinters will be featured in the 200 meters. Josephus Lyles, the brother of Noah Lyles, was actually second to his brother in Monaco, and that was special, and kind of a 400-meter guy, but he's also pretty talented at 200 meters.
Well, and we think about in 2016, he had a major injury. How different would his career have been had he run in those Olympic trials in Eugene in 2016? We'll get to know him a little bit later in the show.
And a name you're going to start hearing a lot about is this young man, Justin Robinson, just a high schooler, soon to be a member of ASU's track and field program.
Well, and you put him up against some of the best high schoolers of all time, most notably Michael Norman. This guy has a great resume. He's going to be a great professional 400-meter runner. We will see him at one or two Olympics in the future, I'm absolutely sure.
Talk about some of the great field event action we'll have as well, but we also have some more running at the distance of a mile. And for more on that, let's bring in our third member of our team down on the field, Carrie Tollefson. Carrie?
Well, hey guys, we have some amazing stuff on the field, on the track, but listen, we also have our distance runners kicking it off today. They're going to start out on the roads and finish here on the blue oval. We have four former champions, coming back. We have the defending champion, Tripp Hurt, on the men's side, and three former champions on the women's side for the USATF Road Mile Championship. So a national championship for both the men and the women in the Road Mile will take place right away here today.
So excited to preview these things because this is something we haven't gotten a chance to do much of all in 2020. So we're going to enjoy this just as much as we hope you will as well. So settle in. Track is back here in the Heartland on the Blue Oval at Drake Stadium in Des Moines, Iowa. Back with the Blue Oval Showcase presented by Mediacom right after this.
And for those of you watching here on USATF.tv, Bill Spalding with you. I'll be with you throughout the breaks and the Mediacom coverage throughout the course of these next 2+ hours. We'll really be focusing on the field events. You may have just heard there, and if you were with us earlier for the USATF Men's and Women's Road Mile, you're actually going to get a chance to watch it again coming up on the Mediacom coverage. It was a great race. I won't spoil it for you if you weren't watching it an hour or so ago. If you're waiting for the next live event, that's the women's 100 meters, which is coming up at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, noon there in Des Moines. We have three great field events coming throughout the course of the competition today as well. We'll have a women's pole vault, women's long jump, and men's shot put with some just tremendous athletes, a highlight athlete in each event. In the women's pole vault, we'll see Sandy Morris, the world indoor champion, world medalist. She's had a really fun season and going to be great to watch her make the most of this year and this opportunity. Women's pole vault starts at 1:10 Eastern Time. In the women's long jump, Tiana Bartoletta, the Rio Olympic champion, will lead that field. And in the shot put later today, the men's shot put, Ryan Krauser, who just threw a world number 3 all-time throw about a month ago of 22.91 meters. Krauser leads the field in the men's shot put, and hey, he is inching closer to that world record territory, so you don't want to miss that. Men's shot put is at 2:05 Eastern Time today. And of course, Paul and Dan will have all the coverage of each track race as well. The women's 100, men's 200, men's 110 hurdles, women's 100, and men's 100 on the track. And as I mentioned, they'll come back with the men's and women's road mile races, which you already saw here on USATF.tv, but you'll get a chance to see them again. Fun setup through Drake University, ending on the Blue Oval. That Hill and Dairy women's pole vault will be the first field event you see. I mentioned Sandy Morris. The field that will challenge her includes Ariel Vaz-Campliego, Sydney Walter, Courtney Ross, and Megan Clark. Morris, the heavy favorite in this group, but Megan Clark has had some really strong results in her career. A personal best of 4.63 meters. She'll look for a strong performance as well, and Courtney Ross could also contend. This is an important event on the Continental Cup, and for more coverage, let's go back to Paul and Dan and the Mediacom broadcast.
We're back.
Welcome back to Des Moines, Iowa, the Golden Dome of the state capitol here. On a wonderful afternoon for track and field, one of the great cities for the sport in the United States, and great to have the opportunity to bring some of the top athletes in the U.S. and in the world to this Drake showcase. We go back a year ago to the Grand Blue Mile when we actually could have spectators and real sporting events in the middle of the city. What a great finish to the Grand Blue Mile that also serves as the USATF Road Mile Championship. And it was Tripp Hurt that held off the field, winning that race in 4:03.9. And he is back, Dan O'Brien, to try to defend his title as part of this Drake Blue Oval Showcase. We'll have action here inside the stadium, on the track, and in the field. But we're going to start in the heart of campus with this road mile.
Well, they relocated that road mile. It's going to start in the middle of campus, and it'll finish right here on the track, and they'll run the last 600 meters here. But this is going to be an interesting and maybe one of the most unique road miles that these guys have ever run, because you're starting on the road, a little bit of downhill, you got an S curve to get into the stadium, and then you'll run that last 600 meters on the track. You know, the question is, what kind of shoes do you wear? Obviously, you're not on the track to start, so you can't wear sprint spikes, and these guys want to wear shoes just really as light as possible. But Tripp Hurt, he is the favorite coming in. He ran 4:03 last year. He's got the fastest road time this season coming in, but you know, this is a little bit different situation than I think any of these guys have run up to this point in their careers.
So a look at the stadium, which will serve as the finish, but now let's go to the start in the heart of campus, this famous, where they normally have for this annual Drake Relays, all the sororities and fraternities come out and paint stuff on the concrete there, and it's you know, a different feel here walking around campus, but you know, excitement, the fact that we were able to stage something here in 2020 for the athletes.
Well, I think that was really the important part about it, and especially here at Drake, they are so ensconced in the track and field community here in the United States, and you know, they put on the Drake Relays, a number of other big meets, high school meets, certainly here throughout the year, and for them not to have a track meet in the entire season of 2020, I think a lot of people would have really missed that. So great opportunity for these athletes, and this competition here, it drew people from the East Coast, West Coast. We've seen a lot of distance running on the West Coast, so sprinting on the East Coast. This allowed a lot of people from around the country to come join and compete in both distance sprints and field events.
As they make the first turn, the guy in front, Johnny Gregoric, and you know, you talk about people having opportunities to do different things. What Johnny went out and did is set a world record for a mile run in blue jeans, and you laugh at it, but you know, it was kind of a stage thing, and it was also done because he was trying to raise awareness around a very important thing to his heart, which is mental illness. He ran in memory of his younger brother Patrick, who passed away back in 2019, struggling with mental health issues. Gregoric, the top American finisher at 1,500 meters at the World Championships in London in 2017. Now they're going to come down by the basketball facility, and as you talked about, Dan, this begins to become a sloping downhill, and we would expect a negative split here, faster on the back end of this race than the first, as they go through the first quarter mile in 61.8.
Oh, and that's a pretty quick start for a road mile. Like I said, last year Tripp Hurt only goes 4:03, and I would say that breaking 4 minutes on this course today is going to be very, very difficult. But then you look at the amount of downhill that they get to actually run, and it's pretty significant. I'm going to say it's 500 or 600 meters of solid downhill that these guys get to run before they enter the stadium.
As they come down by the field house that's used for some of the indoor track and field action under inclement weather conditions, they're setting the stage for what should be a good finish here on the track next to Gregoric. That's Abe Alvarado of the Atlanta Track Club Elite, was second in the USA Indoor Championships a year ago at 1,000 meter out of Brigham Young University. So Gregoric and Alvarado now making this way in. It's almost kind of like a chicane here, Dan, as they'll make their move onto the blue oval for the final 600 meters of this race.
Well, I like Abe Alvarado. He's a great 800-meter runner, and I always on these road miles, I always like those guys who run the half miles, because when they can see the finish line, they can usually run to it. Some guys count laps and get a little distracted, but those 800-meter runners, man, they really know how to push. They really know how to push the edge of their pace.
Yeah. Now with Gregoric in third, ahead of him is Joe Klecker, part of that new On Running group that Dathan Ritzenheim is involved in out in Colorado. Klecker, a Colorado alum and no stranger to the podium. He was second in the 2019 NCAA Cross Country Championships. He'll now try to reel in Alvarado as Gregoric starting to fade a little bit. Colby Alexander and Sam Prakel, a pair of former University of Oregon athletes, now move from fifth into third and fourth.
Well, Joe Klecker, what a season he had, and you're going to have to look back and say what a season it could have been for him. He was really ready to run at the University of Colorado, but look who looks really strong there in fourth position. He looks really relaxed and even fresh is Sam Prakel.
Well, Prakel now is going to have some work to do here. Alvarado now trying to hold off Klecker. Alexander now moving up, and as Dan mentioned, Sam Prakel looking awfully good, but he's going to try to have to win this race, maybe out in lane 3. Coming off the final turn, less than 100 meters to go. Klecker is fading, and Prakel is surging. Sam Prakel will take the Road Mile Championship here, sub 4-minute performance as well. What a last lap, and for that 53.4 on the final trip around the Blue Oval, and the second fastest road mile time in USATF Championship history.
Well, the last time they broke 4 minutes was in 2016, and that was Ben Blankenship. He ran 3:55, and before that, David Torrance, 2011, 3:58, and I thought, no way are these guys going to break 4 minutes today. 3:58, an outstanding run. They really went out quicker than I thought they were going to.
As we go back to the backstretch, let's watch this move by Prakel. And, in case where maybe Klecker, excited he got past Alvarado, didn't even know that there were guys behind him making equally surging kind of moves, and Prakel just strong there over these last 80 meters.
Well, he really started to build his momentum at the 300-meter mark. By the time he got to the 150, he was in really good striking position. If he's still back in third or fourth position, it's hard for him to come out on the outside and go wide, but he was just positioned perfectly with 150 meters to go.
Well, Sam Prakel gets a chance to hoist a flag as a newly minted USATF Road Mile champion. He's now down with our Carrie Tollefson. Carrie?
Guys, I'm down here with Sam Prakel. Sam, first U.S. championship. Congratulations. What's going on in your mind right now?
Thank you. Yeah, it feels good to get a win and be back in Des Moines. I've been here the past 2 years for the U.S. championships, and some good memories with that. And yeah, I'm just glad that they could put on a meet this year. And even though it's a smaller field, it was a ton of fun and a unique course, and felt fast finishing on the track, so I kind of like that.
Yeah, you really used that last 75 meters to your advantage. You swung out wide, put that hammer down. How has this year been for you? It's really been a struggle for a lot of athletes, but you're taking advantage of it.
It's been odd. At first feeling a little down about things getting canceled, but I haven't had too much trouble with motivation. I've just been internally driven to get better, even if there's not any big races, and worked hard through the summer, and glad it could pay off with this one.
Well, our new national champion. Way to go, Sam.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Carrie, as we'll prepare for action inside the Blue Oval. But we got one more race to come on the roads, the Women's Road Mile Championship, coming your way next.
Bill Spalding back with you here on USATF.tv, and as Paul mentioned, moving closer to action on the track and inside the Blue Oval and on the field as well, as we get ready to roll for the Hillen Dairy Women's Pole Vault, which comes your way in about 20 minutes time. The athletes are starting to warm up right now. It's a 5-athlete field highlighted by Sandy Morris, who is just an absolute superstar in this sport. She is the indoor champ this year for USATF, world indoor champ back in 2018, Olympic silver medalist in Rio, and a world silver medalist each of the last 2 years, now building toward Tokyo 2021. She has used this break really well. She has a pole vault pit in her backyard in Greenville, South Carolina, so her training never really stopped. And she actually ended up hosting some meets as well, as she had a lot of these athletes who you see here in Des Moines today also with her competing in meets in her backyard in South Carolina. The 4 other athletes in this field, Ariel Liego, Sydney Walter, Courtney Ross, and Megan Clark. Clark this year was 4th at USATF Indoors. Meanwhile, Ross has finished as high as 5th outdoors and 4th indoors. So those two look to be the ones that'll challenge Sandy Morris the most today. There is a look at Megan Clark, who grew up in Fort Benning, Georgia, a military kid. She said she moved 10 times before she went to college at Duke. And she came somewhat late to pole vaulting, and said the reason she got into pole vaulting originally is because she thought it required less running, but had a great college career and now really starting to make her way at the professional level 3 years after graduating from Duke. Megan Clark, Courtney Ross, Sydney Walter, all veterans, everyone in this field at least 26 years old, so they've been through the grind for a full Olympic cycle as professionals at this point. You look at Courtney Ross, who's out of San Diego. She's a great example of the improvement you can have as a professional. At the college level, never really had top-tier marks, but she's become one of the top 5 pole vaulters in the United States. We'll see the pole vaulters in about 20 minutes' time. Now back to Paul and Dan.
Coming back at 3,
We welcome you back to the Blue Oval in Des Moines, Iowa, as we continue our coverage here of the Blue Oval Showcase presented by Mediacom. We just saw Sam Prakel win the men's road mile. Time to go back to the heart of campus for the start of the women's road mile. But back a year ago, it was Nikki Hiltz who had such a phenomenal year last year, Dan O'Brien, holding off four-time champion Heather Camp to win in downtown Des Moines.
Well, Nikki Hiltz, she did have a great season from the collegiate season. She makes that world championship team, takes a trip to Doha. It'll be really interesting to see how the next couple of years pans out for her. But should be an exciting race. We've got past champions in the race. We've got 4 past champions in the race today here on the women's side.
So as it gets set for the start of this race, a look at the field. You mentioned previous champions. Emily Lipari listed there. She won back in 2018. Katie Mackey, winner in 2017, and the 4 wins over the years by Minnesota standout Heather Camp.
Here's the start of the race.
So as it was for the men, same race course, starting there in the heart of campus.
Nice slow move.
Campus slowly coming to life here as some of these universities are starting to open up in different formats. Obviously, a lot of challenges around the country, but the folks here at Drake University have done a great job of providing this platform for these athletes to come in to compete. As we look at the fastest road mile this year, 4:29:35, and Nikki Hiltz owns the facility record, 4:31.1. Early on, though, this group settling in as a group to tackle this first quarter mile.
We got a chance to see that start location yesterday. I walked through campus a little bit. Beautiful campus, great conditions out there. What do we, low 80s today, but the humidity is definitely out there as well. I only walked a few blocks and I was already sweating, but I'm coming from the heat and no humidity of Arizona, 110 degrees, so a little bit different for me.
Lipari wearing the sunglasses on the far right of your screen. Right next to her, Marissa Howard out of Boise State. Strong steeplechaser, Pan American Games silver medalist last year and was 5th at the USA Outdoor Championships on the Blue Oval, so looking forward to reaching the track here and maybe projecting some memories of the time that she had on that track a year ago. Drake, an important part of the ecosystem of the sport in the United States, and for a lot of these folks, the fact that maybe their last major competition was here in Drake, it's symbolic to be back.
Well, I had to look back and think, well, when was the last time I did this job? And I have to think, yeah, I was back here in 2019 as well. But so many great memories here at Drake University. When I coached at Arizona State University, we won a national championship here at Drake. But this is one of those locations, and you can only name 2 or 3 of those locations in the United States that says USA Track and Field.
Yeah, they've hosted lots of great events here over the years. 4 NCAA championships, 4 USA Track and Field championships, including last year and the year prior. But now as they come down by the field house, it is Howard slightly ahead of Lipari. They came through the half mile in 2:18.7. And now going to work their way around. They'll take another left turn and then work their way onto the track here at Drake Stadium.
Well, this is a nice little downhill that they get to enjoy before they hit the flat again. About 600, 700 meters right about here, but this is where it gets a little tight. They have to take a left turn, 2 left turns back to back. Little snaky on the right, and then they take a left turn, and they got 600 meters to go right there.
Yeah, a little chicane here for the women as they come on to the Blue Oval, and a good separation now for Howard and Lipari as they will come off this final turn, but have 500 meters to go here in the Women's USATF Road Mile Championship in 2020. Lipari, very strong finisher. So for Howard here, how does she set this up to give herself a chance to win it?
Well, I think Howard has to really try to push this last 400, see if she can shake Lipari. Not sure she'd be able to, though. Lipari is really hanging in there. They both definitely look like they're under duress, not horribly relaxed, but we'll see if Lipari can just increase the tempo slightly, and if she's going to pass, she needs to pass dominantly. She just can't come up on the shoulder, and see if Howard backs off.
In the white, that is Megan Mancy of Hoka One, New Jersey, New York Track Club out of North Carolina State, trying to move up and close the gap. Lipari has now made her move on Howard and has the lead with about 150 to go. Mancy trying to close and maybe get into that battle for second and possibly first.
Howard and Mancy.
But as they come off the final turn, less than 100 meters to go, Lipari has found that next gear. And now Howard just trying to hold off Mancy for second. But Emily Lipari, winner in 2018, will come back in 2020 and take the USATF Road Mile Championship.
4:29.3.
And Dan, not only does she get the flag, but she also will pick up a check, $3,000 in prize money, and that's an important piece of this. You know, the fact that a lot of these athletes get the support of travel money, the opportunity to come here and compete for dollars, and in a year where every dollar has mattered, it's a big win for Lipari.
Oh, absolutely, and you look at the time, 4:29.3. That's faster than Nikki Hiltz ran last year. That's faster than anybody has run that road mile here in Des Moines.
Yeah, 63 seconds on that final 400. And that is the fastest road mile of 2020 here in late August. And a fun little format. I like the little bit of road, a little bit of track, and ultimately a big win for Emily Lipari, as we'll go all Villanova now as we go down to the finish line with Carrie Tollefson and Emily Lipari.
All right, I'm down here with Emily Lipari. Emily, your second road mile championship ever. And guess what? Fastest Iowa road mile ever.
Cool.
Breaking 4:30. How do you feel now coming here, racing in such an odd year and getting another national championship?
Yeah, you know, it's really exciting. And I think, you know, there's so many people behind the scenes that people have put on these races this summer. And, like, they're doing so much for the sport. And it's really amazing to give us these opportunities because, you know, everybody's approaching the year differently. And, like, I really wanted to race this year. I put in a lot of work over like quarantine, and for me, I just need like races to get going, and to have these opportunities is absolutely amazing. The environment is safe, and to come out and like podium every race this summer, I'm really thrilled about it, and I feel like my body's starting to come around. Mm-hmm. And you know, I wish there were more races, but you know what? 3 races is more than I thought I was going to get in March.
Yeah, and you know, you have shown your strength over 5,000. This indoor season had a great 5,000. And then again today, just sitting and waiting to unleash that final kick, which you're so, you know, fond of and so good at. Talk about how this is going to prepare you for next year and hopefully have that 2021 Olympic Games.
Yeah, for sure. I think, you know, in March it was hard. I think everybody kind of had a little moment where they were feeling sorry for themselves. But for me, I was just coming off this good indoor season, probably the best one I've ever had. So for me, I was like, wow, so it gives me an extra year to prepare and wrap my head around this 5K. Mm-hmm. So I'm actually going to be racing a 5K in Boston next week on Labor Day. So I kind of want to get more practice at the distance and keep the doors open, whether it's in the 15 or the 5. I just want to have options. So I'm excited because my strength has really come around the last few years. So I'm excited to see how it can help me in the 15 and what it's going to mean for the 5.
Well, it clearly works for both the middle distance and the longer distances. Yeah. Congratulations, Emily Lipari.
Thank you.
Our national champion.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, Carrie. As you look at the final results, 4:29.3 for Emily Lipari, winning the USATF Women's Road Mile Championship. As we will transition from the road back to the track, as we get ready for our first race of the day, straightaway-wise, it's the Mediacom Women's 100 meters. In center of picture there, Dan O'Brien, the reigning Olympic champion in the long jump, Tiana Bartoletta.
Well, Tiana Bartoletta was, excuse me, one of those athletes that really benefited from another season. She had some health issues, and she was able to restart her training clear in May. She was saying she didn't really get started till she got going in May, but now she's going to have a whole nother year to prepare. She's been running very well. She's very inspirational on social media. She's got over 100,000 followers on social media, but you can also see her training on a daily basis as well. She ran some flying 30s for us on Instagram just last week, and she looked very, very good.
And she will also long jump today, her specialty. Look forward to that. And next to her, Kayla White, North Carolina A&T from last year. You talked about Chris Belcher and the legacy of North Carolina A&T. There's a lot of talent there in the sprints, and she's no different as she gets into the blocks to go up against Bartoletta.
Well, Kayla White was second to Sha'Carri Richardson last year in the 100-meter final at the NCAA Championships, and everybody looked at Sha'Carri Richardson as the next great female sprinter, but Kayla White actually had a better summer than Sha'Carri did.
Kristina Knott of the Philippines in lane 2. 3 women here to start our sprint portion of the event. And we'll look for that good start from Tiana Bartoletta, but out there in lane 6, that's Kayla White. White strong, but now on the inside, Knott kind of closing the gap, and maybe on the back half of the race, Knott.
Champion running well on the inside, as did Kayla White on the outside. And it is White.
So we await the official result, and it actually will be Kayla White taking the win in 11:18, and straight to the bank with a big check, $1,500 for the win. You know, we've talked a lot in years about, you know, these collegians that peak for that NCAA championship, and Kayla has said how disappointed she was in her performance at the USA Outdoor Championships. She just had run out of gas.
Well, and that's what's a little bit unfair about the collegiate athletes having to turn right back around a week or two later. Here you see a start. Looked like Tiana Bartoletta in the middle did get a really good start. It's a little bit tight there in the middle. Well, Kristina Knott and Kayla White are a little more free-flowing on the outside, but Kayla White, you know, you're out there running in an island basically when there's nobody next to you. This is just a, you know, a nice time trial. If somebody's ahead of you, obviously, on your left or right, you can see them, but when, you know, that person's not in that lane, it's really difficult to kind of really almost judge your effort sometime. But she did a great job on the outside. This is her fastest run of the season. She had run 11:43 earlier in the year, and she's got to be happy to see that 11:18 up there. A little bit of progress here before she shuts down the end of the season.
Yeah, just her 3rd race of the season. She's now the 3rd fastest American in 2020.
Here we go.
Carrie Tollefson down with our winner, Kayla White.
All right, here I'm with Kayla White, just so excited. She said she saw, you know, she saw people coming on the inside there, and she said, I got to go. So, Kayla, 4th race of the season, time's coming down. Talk about your race.
I'm really excited. I didn't expect to run 11:1, but I knew I ran 11:4 2 weeks ago. And I just wanted to focus on the small things at practice, like pushing off the front block and pulling off the back. And I feel like I put that together in this race today.
Having time to work on all the technicalities of this race, is that what you guys are getting out of having a little bit more space in between races and not having to travel as much?
Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. Unfortunately, you know, a lot of meets got canceled, but I feel like this time for me, I got the time to kind of break down my race as much as I could and focus on the small things.
All right, Kayla, way to go.
Thank
our
you.
champion.
Thanks very much, Carrie and Kayla, as we take a look at the final results of our first sprint race of the day. Kayla White is the winner in a season's best 11:18. Kristina Knott and Tiana Bartoletta 2nd and 3rd. Much more to come on the Blue Oval here shortly. Be back with the men's 200 meters and the start of the women's pole vault. Back with more right after this.